Have you ever asked yourself what success really costs? Not the polished version you see on social media, not the highlight reels that make it look easy, but the real price that no one talks about. Deep down, you already know the truth. Nothing great comes without a trade. Every dream you chase demands something from you first. The question is, are you ready to give before you get? Success is never free. It has never been, and it never will be. Yet so many people walk through life hoping it will just show up, as if desire alone were enough. They wait for luck, for timing, for someone else to open the door. And while they wait, time keeps moving, opportunities pass, and regret quietly builds. The hardest truth to face is that success is not waiting to be handed to you. It is waiting for you to pay the price it requires. Think about the moments when you wanted change most badly. A healthier body, a stronger career, a bigger impact. The vision felt alive, didn't it? You could almost taste it. But then came the wall, the discipline, the effort, the sacrifice. That's where most people stop. That's where they decide the cost is too high. But here's what they miss. The cost of success is never as painful as the cost of staying the same. You were not born to live on repeat, to drift through the same days year after year, wishing for more but never daring to give what it takes. Inside you, there is a restlessness, a spark that knows you are meant for more. That spark is your proof that success is possible, but it won't come without a price. And if you're honest, you already know what it's asking for. Maybe it's your time. Maybe it's your comfort. Maybe it's the people who hold you back. Whatever it is, success is whispering, give first, and then you shall receive. This may feel heavy, but there is power in this truth, because the moment you accept that success demands something of you, you stop waiting and start moving. You stop being surprised by obstacles and start expecting them. You stop treating sacrifice like loss and start seeing it as investment. And when you think this way, every hour of effort, every moment of discipline, every step outside your comfort zone becomes proof that you are building something greater. Stay with me, because as we go deeper, I will show you exactly what those 8 things are that you must give first. These are the hidden currencies of success, the ones no one puts in the spotlight, but every achiever has paid. If you learn them, if you embrace them, you will unlock a path most people never walk. This isn't about theory. This is about the raw, unfiltered truth that can change your life if you're bold enough to accept it. So let me leave you with this promise. By the end of this journey, you won't just understand the cost of success. You will feel the strength of knowing that you can pay it. You will see sacrifice not as something to fear, but as the door to your next chapter. Because the reality is simple, success will never be free. But once you give what it asks, it will reward you with more than you ever imagined. You've been told all your life to chase your dreams, but no one warned you about the illusions that stand in the way. The biggest of them all is the belief that success can be fast, easy, or free. It's the fantasy of shortcuts, the myth of overnight wins, the lie that someone out there has found a secret path that skips the pain. That illusion is powerful because it tempts the part of you that wants comfort more than growth. It whispers that you can keep your habits, keep your fears, keep your excuses, and still somehow rise, but deep down you already know it isn't true. Everywhere you look, there are stories of people who seem to make it instantly. A business that exploded in months, an athlete who appeared out of nowhere, a creator who suddenly went viral. It looks effortless, and it feeds the illusion that maybe, just maybe, you can bypass the struggle. What those stories never show is the hidden years of work, the failures, the sacrifices, the nights no one clapped for them. Psychology calls it effort justification. The more effort you put in, the more value you feel. That's why the ones who earn their success cherish it, while those who try to skip the process always end up empty. The illusion of free success isn't harmless. It steals your focus. It drains your belief. It tricks you into waiting instead of working. When you chase shortcuts, you're not saving time. You're losing it. You're handing away your future in exchange for a quick hit of hope that never lasts. And each time you fall for that illusion, something dangerous happens inside you. Your standards drop. You convince yourself that maybe greatness isn't for you. You start to believe the lie that you're not capable. But the truth isn't that you can't. It's that you haven't yet been willing to pay. You can't afford to keep feeding the illusion. Because every day you do, the real price rises. Time slips away. Opportunities vanish. Regret piles higher. There's nothing more painful than waking up years later and realizing you traded your dreams for a fantasy that never came true. Regret is heavier than discipline. Regret is the cost of believing the lie of free success. The path of reality may not be glamorous, but it is powerful. When you embrace the fact that success requires sacrifice, something shifts inside you. You stop comparing yourself to those highlight reels because you understand that every true achievement has a price tag. You stop being surprised by obstacles because you expect them as part of the process. And you stop wishing for shortcuts because you realize the long way is actually the only way. There's a freedom in this truth. When you no longer chase illusions, you gain clarity. You know that every effort, every hour, every ounce of energy you give is not wasted, it's invested. You understand that the discomfort you feel is not a sign of failure, but a sign of growth. You see yourself differently because instead of being someone who waits for luck, you become someone who earns destiny. And when you reach that point, the illusion of free success loses its power over you. You no longer want the easy way. You want the real way, because the real way shapes you into someone stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. And that is the path that will carry you to everything you dream of becoming. Life itself is built on exchange. Nothing is created without something being given first. You breathe in because you first exhale. You receive energy from food because something was sacrificed to provide it. You grow stronger in the gym only by breaking down your muscles before they rebuild. The same principle governs success. Every victory, every breakthrough, every transformation is bought with a price. The exchange is non-negotiable. To receive, you must release. To gain, you must give. This is why success is never an accident. It is always the result of an exchange, an intentional trade of something valuable today for something greater tomorrow. Yet most people resist this truth. They want growth without change, results without risk, progress without pain. But the universe doesn't work that way. Just like energy cannot be created from nothing, achievement cannot appear without investment. If you want the life you dream about, you have to decide what you are willing to put on the table. The exchange principle is both sobering and liberating. Sobering because it forces you to face the reality that nothing will be handed to you. Liberating because it means you are not powerless. You don't have to wait for luck, for approval, for permission. You already hold something you can give: your time, your effort, your discipline, your willingness to endure. The exchange doesn't care about your background, your past mistakes, or your current doubts. It only cares about what you are prepared to pay right now. Look closely at anyone who has achieved lasting success, and you'll see the exchange written into their lives. They traded hours of sleep for hours of practice. They gave up comfort to embrace challenge. They sacrificed the approval of others to stay true to their vision. And the reason their success feels extraordinary isn't because they were born lucky. It's because they were willing to pay a price most people refuse to pay. The most dangerous thing you can do is try to avoid the exchange, because the truth is you're paying a price either way. Refuse to give effort and you pay with regret. Refuse to give discipline and you pay with wasted years. Refuse to give courage and you pay with a life half lived. There is no escaping the cost. The only choice you have is whether you invest it into something that grows you or lose it on something that diminishes you. This is why clarity matters. When you understand the exchange principle, you stop asking, why is this so hard? And start asking, what is this difficulty giving back to me? You begin to recognize that every sacrifice plants a seed, every challenge builds muscle, every obstacle becomes fuel. Suddenly, giving doesn't feel like loss. It feels like a step toward power. And that shift changes everything. The exchange principle demands courage, but it rewards with transformation. It strips away the illusion of easy success and replaces it with the dignity of earned success. It forces you to stop running from the cost and start embracing it. And when you do, you realize something powerful. The price you fear paying is the very thing that makes the reward so meaningful. What you give is never wasted. It is the currency that purchases the life you are capable of living. Among all the prices you will ever pay for success, the most valuable is your time. Time is the currency you can never earn back, the one resource that slips through your fingers, no matter how tightly you try to hold it. You can lose money and rebuild it. You can lose energy and restore it. But once a moment is gone, it is gone forever. That is why the first gift success demands is your time, because time is the ultimate proof of what you truly value. Think about how you spend your hours. Every choice you make is a vote for the future you are building. Each hour wasted is not just time lost, It is opportunity lost. It is potential delayed. It is momentum broken. Most people live as if time is endless, as if they can always start tomorrow, as if there will always be more chances. But the harsh truth is, tomorrow is never guaranteed. Waiting becomes the silent killer of dreams. Procrastination isn't just a bad habit. It is a thief, stealing the only resource you can never reclaim. When you dedicate your time to something greater than yourself, you send a message to your mind and spirit, this matters. And over time, that commitment shapes your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who prioritizes growth over distraction, someone who doesn't waste what can never be replaced. This shift builds confidence because deep down, you know you are no longer living passively. You are investing intentionally. Psychologists have long studied the link between how we spend our time and how we perceive our lives. People who waste their hours in meaningless activities report lower fulfillment, lower self-esteem, and higher regret. On the other hand, those who devote consistent time to meaningful goals report deeper satisfaction and resilience, even when the journey is hard. The reason is simple. Meaning is born in the moments you choose to give, not the moments you avoid. Every great achievement begins not with a grand gesture, but with time consistently given. 10 minutes of practice a day compounds into mastery. An hour of focused work each morning compounds into expertise. Small pieces of time invested daily grow into results that seem almost impossible from the outside. But from the inside, you will know the truth, that the success was built one choice, 1 hour, one disciplined gift at a time. It's easy to tell yourself you're too busy, that you'll start when life slows down, that the perfect moment is coming. But the perfect moment will never arrive. Life will always be chaotic. Responsibilities will always compete for your attention. If you wait for time to appear, you will wait forever. You don't find time, you make time. You carve it out with intention. You protect it like treasure. And when you do, you prove to yourself that your dreams are not just wishes, they are priorities. There's a powerful shift that happens when you begin to treat time like the currency of success. You no longer waste it on gossip, on distractions, on things that do not build you. You start to see every hour as an investment that either brings you closer to your vision or pulls you further away. And the more you choose to give your time to growth, the more growth gives back to you. This is the cost that feels hardest at first because you are giving something you can never replace. But it is also the cost that creates the deepest reward because it transforms not only your results, but your sense of who you are. When you give your time with focus and purpose, success begins to take you seriously. And once it does, it will open doors you never thought possible. Time is the first price, but it is never the only one. Once you begin to give your hours with intention, you quickly discover that success also asks for something far more uncomfortable. It asks for your comfort itself. Comfort feels safe. Comfort feels easy. It is warm, familiar, and seductive. But comfort is also the quiet cage that keeps you from becoming who you are meant to be. Nothing extraordinary ever grows inside the boundaries of what feels easy. The walls of your comfort zone may protect you, but they also imprison you. Every instinct in your mind is designed to keep you comfortable. The brain craves certainty. It resists change. It warns you that discomfort means danger, that unfamiliar territory means risk. This wiring once kept us alive, but in today's world, it has a cost. Because the truth is, growth lives where comfort dies. Every time you step into the unknown, every time you face the unfamiliar, you are teaching your mind that fear does not control you. You are rewriting the script that says safety is more important than success. Psychologists call this the zone of proximal development, the space where tasks are not too easy, not impossible, but challenging enough to stretch you. In that zone, discomfort becomes a very signal that you are evolving. It's the moment your muscles tremble under the weight of training, the moment your heart races before a speech, the moment your doubts scream when you take a leap. These are not signs to retreat. They are signs you are on the edge of transformation. Most people run from this feeling. They misinterpret it as weakness, as failure, as proof that they're not ready. But the strongest individuals learn to lean into it. They understand that comfort may feel good in the moment, but it robs you of the pride that only comes from overcoming. And every time you choose challenge over ease, you build a deeper belief in yourself. You begin to trust your ability to handle more, to adapt faster, to rise higher. Think about the cost of staying comfortable. You may avoid fear, but you also avoid progress. You may avoid struggle, but you also avoid strength. The price of comfort is potential unrealized. And one day when you look back, you will not regret the times you felt afraid, but you will regret the times you let fear keep you small. To break free, you must be willing to give up the idea that life should always feel easy. Success is not about avoiding the fire, it's about walking through it and discovering that you are far stronger than you thought. Each time you embrace discomfort, you unlock new levels of resilience, creativity, and confidence. The very moments that once terrified you become the foundation of your identity. The truth is simple. Comfort and success cannot coexist. You can choose one, but not both. If you choose comfort, you choose stagnation. If you choose success, you must surrender ease. And while the price feels heavy at first, it is the very price that proves you are alive, growing, and capable of more than you ever imagined. Comfort will keep you safe. Discomfort will set you free. The choice is yours, and your future depends on it. When you step beyond comfort, you meet the next demand of success, your energy. Energy is the fuel behind every choice, every action, every breakthrough. Without it, time is wasted, focus is scattered, and opportunities slip away. Energy is not just physical strength. It is mental clarity, emotional stability, and spiritual drive. It is the invisible current that powers your vision. If you do not guard it, if you do not direct it, success will always remain out of reach. Every day you wake up with a limited supply of energy. Where you spend it determines who you become. Give it to distractions and you weaken your future. Give it to your fears and you feed your limits. Give it to your goals, your growth, your discipline, and suddenly your energy becomes an investment with compounding returns. The greatest achievers are not the ones with the most hours in the day. They are the ones who channel their energy into the right places with relentless consistency. Science shows us that willpower and focus are like muscles. They fatigue when overused on meaningless things. Every unnecessary argument, every toxic environment, every wasted hour on distractions drains the very energy you need to build your dreams. This is why success is not only about working harder, but about protecting your inner power. You must cut off what drains you and double down on what strengthens you. Because the truth is, you cannot pour into your future if you are constantly running on empty. Energy is shaped by the habits you choose, the food you eat, the sleep you allow, the thoughts you entertain, the people you surround yourself with. All of it either recharges you or robs you. This is not just health advice. It is a success principle. A tired body cannot fuel a focused mind. A restless mind cannot fuel a strong spirit. If you want to rise, you must treat your energy like sacred currency, because that is exactly what it is. The greatest obstacle is not that people lack goals, but that they lack the energy to pursue them consistently. They wake up drained because they traded their vitality for comfort, for shortcuts, for habits that numb instead of sharpen. Success requires a radical shift to stop asking, do I have time for this? And start asking, do I have energy for this? Because your time may be scheduled, but without energy, that time is useless. When you begin to protect and direct your energy, something powerful happens. You start to feel alive again. You notice clarity in your mind, strength in your actions, and passion in your spirit. You stop dragging yourself through the day and begin moving with purpose. And as your energy grows, your capacity grows. What once felt impossible suddenly feels achievable, not because the challenge became smaller, but because you became stronger. The price is clear. Success will demand your energy. Not what's left at the end of the day, not the scraps after you've wasted it on what doesn't matter, but your best, your focus, your vitality. And when you give it fully, success responds. The doors that once seemed locked begin to open. The goals that once seemed distant begin to move closer. Because when your energy is aligned with your vision, nothing can stand in your way. As you give your energy, another demand rises, one that feels even more difficult because it touches your identity. Success asks you to surrender your ego. The ego is the voice that insists you already know enough, that you are already good enough, that you don't need to listen, change, or grow. It shields you from embarrassment, but also blocks you from progress. The ego whispers that admitting weakness is failure, when in truth, denying weakness is what keeps you from ever becoming strong. Growth begins the moment you decide that pride is less important than progress. The ego clings to the need to be right, to be praised, to be seen as capable. But success doesn't reward appearances. It rewards humility, openness, and the willingness to learn. Every person who has risen beyond the ordinary has faced this battle, the choice between protecting their pride or exposing their ignorance to grow. Those who cling to ego stay stuck. Those who release it become unstoppable. Psychology calls this a growth mindset, the belief that skills and intelligence can be developed through effort and feedback. But a growth mindset can't live where ego rules. Ego demands perfection now, while growth accepts imperfection as the path. Ego says, I can't fail. Growth says, I must fail so I can rise higher. The difference is everything. When you let go of ego, you stop performing for approval and start living for mastery. The truth is, ego will fight you at every step. It will make you afraid to look foolish. It will make you resistant to feedback. It will make you reject advice from those who could help you. And every time you listen to that voice, you shrink. You trade real growth for the shallow comfort of saving face. But when you silence ego, you give yourself permission to be a beginner, to ask questions, to stumble, to learn faster than anyone else. That humility becomes your secret weapon. Think about the people you admire most. They are not admired because they pretended to know everything. They are admired because they kept learning, no matter how high they climbed. True greatness is marked not by arrogance, but by curiosity, by the hunger to keep improving, by the courage to say, I don't know yet, but I will learn. That is the mindset that turns average into extraordinary. The cost is painful because ego feels like protection. It feels like strength. But in reality, it is the weight that holds you down. Releasing it feels like loss, but what you gain in return is freedom. The freedom to evolve, to stretch beyond your limits, to grow without restraint. Every time you choose humility over pride, you sharpen your character and open new doors of possibility. Success does not belong to the ones who appear flawless. It belongs to the ones who are willing to look imperfect in pursuit of mastery. When you give up your ego, you don't become smaller, you become limitless. Because there's nothing left to protect, nothing left to prove, nothing left to hide. There is only growth, only progress, only the unstoppable rise of someone who has decided that becoming greater is worth more than looking great. When you let go of ego, you quickly discover another weight you must release, the relationships that hold you back. Human beings are deeply shaped by the company they keep. The people closest to you are not just companions. They are mirrors reflecting what you believe is possible and anchors influencing the direction of your growth. If those mirrors are cracked or those anchors are heavy, they will quietly sabotage everything you are trying to build. Social psychology has proven that our behaviors, habits, even our level of ambition are contagious. If you surround yourself with people who settle, who complain, who avoid responsibility, you will slowly begin to lower your own standards without even realizing it. Their mindset seeps into you like smoke filling a room. You breathe it in, and over time it clouds your vision. That is why success demands that you examine your circle and decide who truly deserves a place in your future. This is not about judging others. It's about protecting your destiny. You cannot rise while staying tied to those who refuse to climb. You cannot keep your fire lit when you are surrounded by those who keep pouring water on it. The most dangerous relationships are not always openly toxic. They are often the subtle ones, the ones that quietly encourage you to play small, to stay comfortable, to ignore the voice inside that calls you higher. Letting go hurts because loyalty pulls at the heart. You remember the history, the memories, the comfort, but history cannot outweigh destiny. If someone is pulling you away from the path you are meant to walk, holding on to them is not love. It is self-sabotage. True love, true friendship, true connection should push you forward, not hold you down. Success requires the courage to release what no longer serves your growth so that you can make space for what does. When you remove the relationships that drain you, you create room for the relationships that elevate you. People who challenge your excuses, people who remind you of your potential, people who don't just celebrate your wins, but also push you through your struggles. These are the connections that sharpen you, that make you braver, that help you endure the weight of the journey. And once you taste the power of a supportive environment, you will never again settle for less. Ask yourself, do the people around you inspire you to rise or tempt you to shrink? Do they ignite your ambition or soothe your complacency? Do they fuel your energy or quietly drain it? Your answers reveal more about your future than any plan or strategy, because no matter how strong your will, no matter how clear your vision, the wrong environment will erode it over time. But the right environment will accelerate it beyond what you imagine. The price of success is not just about what you give, it is also about who you release. You cannot carry everyone with you, and you are not meant to. Some people belong in your past, not your future. Letting them go is not betrayal, it is alignment. It is choosing the life you were created to live over the comfort of staying the same. And when you finally release the hands that hold you back, you will find yourself free to grasp the hands that will lift you higher. Releasing the weight of limiting relationships prepares you for the next demand of success, giving up your need for absolute security. Security feels safe because it gives the illusion of control, a steady paycheck, a familiar routine, a predictable life. These things seem to promise stability, but security often comes at the cost of possibility. When you cling too tightly to safety, you shut the door on growth. The greatest achievements are born not in comfort, but in risk, in the leap into the unknown where nothing is guaranteed. Your mind will resist this. It is wired to avoid uncertainty. Psychologists call it loss aversion, the tendency to fear losing what you have more than you desire gaining what you don't. This instinct once kept our ancestors alive, but today it can keep you trapped in mediocrity. The truth is, every dream worth chasing requires you to gamble with comfort, to risk failure, to step into spaces where you cannot see the outcome. Without that risk, there is no reward. Think of every breakthrough humanity has ever known. Someone risked ridicule, someone risked failure, someone risked everything they knew for the chance of something greater. Progress has never belonged to the ones who stayed hidden in safety. It has always belonged to the ones who dared to step into uncertainty and bet on their vision. You don't need reckless leaps, but you do need courageous ones. The kind that stretch you, the kind that demand faith, the kind that force you to grow into someone capable of holding the success you seek. Clinging to security might protect you from short-term fear, but it guarantees long-term regret. Staying in the job you hate, the routine that drains you, the patterns that numb you may feel safe today, but they silently suffocate your future. The risk you avoid now becomes the weight you carry later, and the regret of never trying, never leaping, never daring is heavier than any failure you could face. The moment you release your need for perfect security, you gain something greater, freedom. You begin to realize that risk is not the enemy, it is the bridge. Risk stretches you into new skills, sharpens your resilience, and forces you to become resourceful in ways safety never will. It is in risk that you discover your courage. It is in risk that you uncover your capacity. It is in risk that you learn what you are truly capable of creating. This is the price most are unwilling to pay. They want guarantees before they act. They want the outcome before the investment. But life does not work that way. Success asks you to step first, to trust the process, to give your courage before you see the results. The leap comes before the landing. The risk comes before the reward. And when you finally decide that uncertainty will no longer paralyze you, you unlock a level of power most people will never experience. Safety will keep you where you are. Risk will take you where you are meant to go. The choice is never easy, but it is always worth it. When you give up your grip on certainty, you place both hands on the tools of transformation, and that is when success begins to meet you halfway. When you let go of security, the journey demands something even greater, consistency. It is not enough to start strong. It is not enough to be inspired for a week or disciplined for a month. Success does not respond to bursts of effort. It responds to steady, relentless repetition. The difference between those who dream and those who achieve is not talent, not luck, but the ability to show up every single day, long after the excitement has faded. Consistency is where most people fail because it feels ordinary. It doesn't bring applause. It doesn't look glamorous. It is the quiet act of choosing discipline over distraction, progress over comfort, again and again. And yet, this is where transformation happens. Every drop of water eventually shapes stone. Every repeated action eventually rewires the brain. Neuroscience proves that habits carve pathways into the mind, making what once felt impossible become second nature. That is the power of consistency. It turns effort into identity. But consistency comes at a cost. It asks you to give your excuses. It asks you to give your moods. It asks you to give the false belief that motivation alone is enough. Because motivation may start the fire, but only consistency keeps it burning. The days you least feel like showing up are the days that matter most. Every time you act despite your feelings, you train your mind to follow commitment instead of convenience. And that training builds unshakable strength. The truth is, anyone can work hard for a short season, but the ones who rise are those who refuse to quit when progress feels slow, when results are invisible, when the grind feels endless. They understand that consistency is not about intensity, but about persistence. It is the compounding of small acts done faithfully that creates unstoppable momentum. What seems insignificant today becomes monumental over time. Psychologists call this the power of compounding habits. Small, repeated behaviors shape your self-image, and your self-image drives your destiny. When you consistently show up as the person you want to become, eventually your mind accepts that identity as truth. Discipline is no longer something you do. It becomes who you are. And when it becomes who you are, success is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you naturally attract. Consistency will test you because it demands patience. Results rarely come overnight, and the temptation to quit will scream at you. But the ones who endure understand that every act of discipline is a seed planted. You may not see the harvest immediately, but it is growing beneath the surface. Each repetition, each disciplined choice, each small step forward is watering the future you desire. This is the hidden cost of greatness: to do what others will not just once, but endlessly, to keep building when no one is watching, to keep walking when the path feels endless, to keep believing when evidence is not yet visible. And if you are willing to pay this price, consistency will transform you into someone unstoppable. Success is not built in the moments of excitement. It is built in the quiet hours of discipline, the days no one applauds, the choices no one sees. When you give your consistency, you prove to life that you are serious. And when life believes you, it will begin to open the doors you once thought were locked forever. Consistency lays the foundation, but its true power can only be unlocked through patience. Success will never arrive on your schedule. It refuses to bend to your expectations or cater to your sense of urgency. It moves at its own pace, testing your endurance, measuring your faith, and demanding that you wait long enough to prove you deserve it. Patience is the price that most find too high to pay, because waiting feels like weakness in a world addicted to speed. But in truth, patience is not passive. It is one of the strongest forms of power you can ever develop. Every seed takes time to grow. No matter how much you water it, no matter how much sunlight it receives, you cannot rush the harvest. To pull it from the soil too soon is to kill it before it matures. The same principle applies to your dreams. You cannot force them to bloom on your timeline. You can only nurture them daily with consistency and wait with faith that the process will work. Patience is not doing nothing. It is trusting that your effort is compounding even when you cannot yet see the results. Psychologists describe delayed gratification as one of the strongest predictors of success. The ability to endure the discomfort of waiting, to resist the temptation of immediate rewards, and to stay focused on the greater outcome separates the extraordinary from the average. Most people trade the future for the present. They abandon the vision for the comfort of instant relief. But the few who master patience gain access to outcomes that others will never touch. Patience strengthens you because it forces you to confront uncertainty without surrendering to it. It builds resilience because you learn to keep walking without proof of progress. It teaches discipline because you stop chasing quick fixes and start valuing lasting growth. And with every day you remain patient, you train your mind to believe that what you want is not just possible, it is inevitable. The lack of patience is why so many quit just before the breakthrough. They give up in the final stretch, mistaking silence for failure when in reality, the process was working all along. Success often hides in the unseen, waiting for those who refuse to quit too early. The test of patience is not whether you can wait, but whether you can maintain your effort, your focus, and your belief while you wait. That is what makes the difference. When you finally embrace patience, you discover freedom. You no longer live enslaved to the clock, desperate for instant results. You no longer compare your timeline to others because you understand that your path is unique. You no longer feel defeated when progress feels slow because you know that growth is happening beneath the surface. With patience, you rise above frustration and move with quiet confidence, knowing that what you are building is worth every moment it takes. The truth is clear. Success belongs not to the ones who start fast, but to the ones who last. Patience is the force that keeps you steady when excitement fades, that keeps you committed when doubt whispers, that keeps you moving when results are still invisible. And when you finally learn to give it fully, you discover that patience is not a delay in your journey. It is the very path that carries you to everything you are destined to achieve. Patience teaches you to wait, but there is another price just as heavy and just as unavoidable: the price of sacrifice. Every step towards success demands that something be left behind. You cannot carry everything with you. You cannot cling to every comfort, every distraction, every easy escape and still expect to rise. To gain something greater, you must give up something lesser. This truth is sharp, and many refuse it. They want change without cost, achievement without trade, growth without loss, but there is no crown without the cross of sacrifice. Sacrifice is painful because it cuts into what feels good in the moment. It asks you to give your time to work instead of wasting it on distractions. It asks you to trade sleep for discipline when your dreams are still fragile. It asks you to let go of habits that numb you, to silence the noise of comfort, and to choose what will build your future over what entertains your present. This is not glamorous. It is not easy. But it is the law of progress. To rise higher, you must release what holds you lower. Every great achievement is proof of this truth. Behind every victory stands a long list of sacrifices that no one applauded. The hours alone, the missed pleasures, the temptations resisted, the comfort surrendered. Most will never see them, but they are the silent currency of success. The sacrifice is always invisible before the reward becomes undeniable, and the depth of your sacrifice will always match the height of your success. Psychology shows that sacrifice changes the way the brain values outcomes. When you give up something for a greater goal, your mind attaches more significance to the reward because you have invested yourself into it. The more you pay, the more it matters. The more you surrender, the more you fight to protect what you are building. This is why sacrifice strengthens commitment. It ties your identity to your vision. You no longer want success casually. You want it deeply because you've already bled for it. The world will tempt you with shortcuts, with promises of ease, with the illusion that you can have everything without losing anything. But shortcuts collapse, easy paths crumble, and the illusion of gain without sacrifice always ends in emptiness. Real success, the kind that lasts, will demand that you strip away what is unnecessary. It will demand that you prove your hunger by letting go of your excuses, your distractions, and your attachments. Sacrifice is not about loss. It is about exchange. You are not simply giving something up. You are trading something temporary for something eternal. You are trading comfort for growth, distraction for focus, good for great. And once you learn to see sacrifice not as punishment but as investment, the pain transforms into purpose. You stop mourning what you leave behind, and you start celebrating what you are building ahead. The truth is undeniable. You cannot keep everything and still rise. You must decide what matters more, the fleeting pleasures of now or the lasting rewards of later. And when you choose to give your sacrifice fully, you align yourself with the unbreakable principle of success. Life will always test you with the question, what are you willing to let go of to become who you were meant to be? Your answer will decide your future. Sacrifice clears the path, but courage is the force that drives you forward once the path is open. Without courage, you will hesitate at the very edge of opportunity. You will feel the pull to retreat, to cling back to safety, to rebuild the walls you just tore down. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. It is the refusal to let doubt have the final word. Fear whispers, what if you fail? Courage answers, what if I rise? Every meaningful pursuit in life triggers fear. It is the natural signal that you are stepping beyond what is familiar. But fear only has power when you listen to it. Courage silences fear by acting in the face of it. The moment you act, fear loses its grip. Your brain learns a new truth, that the unknown does not destroy you. In fact, it grows you. Psychology confirms this. Exposure to fear shrinks its power. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, and what was once unthinkable becomes possible. That is the compounding effect of courage. But courage always costs something. It costs you comfort because stepping forward means leaving behind what is easy. It costs your pride because courage often means risking rejection or ridicule. It costs your excuses because the moment you act with courage, you prove to yourself that fear was never the real barrier. You were. Every act of courage tears away a piece of the old you, and in its place, the stronger you is born. Courage is the fuel of transformation because it builds self-trust. Every time you act bravely, you teach yourself that you can be relied upon. You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect, and you stop depending on external validation. You learn to trust your ability to face challenges head on. That trust becomes unshakable confidence, not the loud, shallow confidence that boasts, but the deep, steady kind that carries you through storms. Life rewards courage because it is the ultimate proof of faith. Courage says, I am willing to step into the unknown because I believe in what I cannot yet see. And every step of courage sends a signal to life itself that you are ready for more. The opportunities you desire will not reveal themselves to hesitation, they reveal themselves to boldness. The doors you dream of walking through will not open to fear, they open to action. The tragedy is that many never discover their true strength because they never give their courage. They stand on the edge of possibility, paralyzed, waiting for fear to disappear before they move. But fear never disappears. It only shrinks when faced. And those who wait will wait forever, their dreams withering in silence. Courage is the dividing line between the life you have and the life you desire. It is not about grand heroic moments, but about the small, daily acts of boldness that compound into transformation. The decision to speak when silence is easier, the choice to take the step when standing still feels safer, the willingness to move forward without all the answers. Each of these is courage. Each of these builds the life you were meant to live. The future you long for will not come to the timid. It will come to the ones willing to feel fear and move anyway. When you finally give your courage, you stop waiting for life to prove itself to you. Instead, you prove yourself to life. And in that moment, you discover that courage was never just a cost. It was the key. Courage opens the door, but humility keeps you from losing yourself once you step through it. Success without humility becomes fragile, poisoned by arrogance, blinded by ego, and eventually destroyed from within. Humility is not weakness. It is not shrinking back or denying your worth. It is strength under control. It is the power to acknowledge that no matter how much you achieve, there is still more to learn, more to give, and more room to grow. Humility demands that you give up the illusion of self-sufficiency. It reminds you that no one climbs alone, that every step forward rests on the shoulders of lessons, mentors, sacrifices, and opportunities given by others. It shifts your focus from entitlement to gratitude, from pride to service. And that shift is what keeps success sustainable, because pride builds walls, but humility builds bridges. And bridges take you further than walls ever could. Psychologists describe humility as a state that increases openness. When you are humble, your mind is more willing to accept feedback, to see blind spots, to adapt, and to keep evolving. This is what separates those who plateau from those who continue rising. Arrogance closes the door on growth because it convinces you that you already know enough. Humility keeps the door wide open because it whispers, there is always more to learn. But humility costs something precious, the need to be right, the need to be admired, the need to stand above others. True humility means surrendering the shallow rewards of ego so that you can embrace the deeper rewards of growth. It asks you to listen instead of always speaking, to serve instead of always seeking, to give credit instead of demanding it. And while that may bruise your pride, it builds your character. The strongest leaders are not the ones who shout the loudest, but the ones who lift others highest. The most successful people are not those who hoard recognition, but those who spread it. The ones who endure are not those intoxicated by their own image, but those grounded in humility that keeps them steady. This is why humility is not just a virtue, it is a strategy. It protects you from the very dangers that destroy success once it is gained. Humility also creates connection. People are drawn to those who are real, not those who pretend to be untouchable. When you strip away arrogance and choose humility, you give others permission to trust you, to follow you, to support you. Your success then multiplies because it is no longer built on isolation, but on the strength of community. Humility fuels influence because it makes people feel seen, valued, and respected. Without humility, success is loud but hollow. With humility, success becomes quiet but unshakable. It allows you to keep climbing without losing sight of what matters.